She does. I do teach dance, so that's what Heather was just making fun of me. I said, I'll just use my dance teacher voice and it's fine. So I'm Chandra Berlin. I'm an early childhood coach for our York Public Schools Sixpence Childcare Partnership here in York. But I also facilitate our York County Childcare Alliance, and that's who is brought you all here tonight. So I thought I'd give you just a little brief information on what the Childcare Alliance is and where it came from. So we are a task group under the York County Health Coalition. So we're an umbrella under the coalition. So really the mission at the coalition is to find and fill gaps in the needs in our community. And childcare always comes up as a gap in the community. And so we created a task force about 4 years ago. Thankfully, we are actually supported by Communities for Kids at the same time. So we've been kind of going through this whole adventure together. Our Childcare Alliance is a group of childcare providers in York County, licensed. They don't have to be licensed, they can be unlicensed. Family childcare providers or teachers or owners themselves of a childcare center. We come together once a month, and really I facilitate the group. I'm kind of just like this neutral party that I coach the community so I can listen to their needs, and I'm not a teacher at just one place. Just letting the letting the providers direct the conversation, see what resources they need. For example, funding is just an issue everywhere. And so finding grants for them, they've had some grant writing classes that we've brought in just from the conversations that we've had during our monthly meetings. We've also talked about utilizing assessments on children. So using in ages and stages in their program, checking the progress of the development of the child, and kind of going from there on where to use more resources. And really, they're just a support. I hope it doesn't sound offensive for them when I say this, but I'm like, we're a support group. We're just supporting each other when they need resources. That we've had conversations about tuition rates and how we could try to be still on the same page as everyone and being equal, and everyone's in the same boat for hiring. Hiring is a struggle for everyone because childcare providers are business owners also. They're also a small business in our community, just like anything down on the square. So like I said, we're financially supported by Communities for Kids, and very, very thankful for that. Communities for Kids is a statewide initiative helping communities identify how to enhance quality childcare by supporting existing programs, guiding on how to start a new program, providing resources on connecting with other communities that have like the same barriers, and helping start a steering committee, finding those champions of the community that think early childhood is just as important, bringing them to the table to like I said, find the gaps and where we can fix those gaps. So why do we think we're such a big deal, and why it's so important? Early childhood is so important because by age 5, 90% of the brain is developed. So that means that during those 5 years, children are meeting milestones in areas like communication, fine motor and gross motor, social, emotional, problem solving, and they're learning it at such a rapid rate because that brain is going to develop it at 90% at 5. So that really does mean that a quality, loving, and caring early childhood experience in any capacity is important for that positive brain to develop as well. So getting down to the nitty-gritty of York, that gap number that says 262 in York County. That is the number of children not being served with the amount of children we have in our community under 6 years old with the available working parents in our community. And this is countywide. So 262 children are not receiving the quality early childhood experience that they're needing. I did print those off there on your table, but just to explain, like the F1, F2, so that's a family childcare center or a family childcare in their home is an F1. So we have 10 spots. So the number is there's 10 of them, 10 in homes in our county. And then the family 2 is a similar model, but that means it's not in their home. It's maybe at another home. It's a mixed age, same model, but in a different location. And then the CCC is Child Care Center. The PRE, that's preschool. So those are public preschools. Or no, I'm sorry. No, they're private preschools that you're going to pay for, like a parochial preschool. And it's a part-time program, probably only going 2 to 3 times a week. But then this is the public preschool. And there are part-time options and a full day option. And then our Head Start. And then our Sixth Sense is our prenatal 2 to 3 years old early childhood program that goes into the home. And Head Start also has in-home services also. So we have a lot of options, but obviously not a lot. So what do we want to get out of this tonight after, Mike gives us a million great ideas to go home with and think about? Our goal as our Child Care Alliance really is to bring the business conversation about childcare and our childcare conversations together. So bringing it to the table. I mean, really, our hope and dream is really to have a steering committee to see, like, how can we bring everyone together? You're always welcome to, come to our meetings, but if we need to bring the business heads together and think more like that, that's just really what we want to have the whole community having a blanket understanding of that early childhood is important and our childcare providers are really important. So like I said, that Communities for Kids has is a partnership with us, and which gives us a partnership with First Five. And so we were chosen, York was chosen as a My Nebraska Story in 2019, pre-COVID. And then the video came out about March 2020, so no one has seen it. We did a lot of social media pushing, but I'd like to share it with all of you.
York is a great place to raise your family. We are the envy of most towns on I-80 because of the infrastructure out to the interstate.
There is a lot of need in this community for childcare, more so than housing or jobs. If you're not able to find care, a quality place for your child that you trust, it's a challenge to get a job, and then it's a challenge to pay your bills. We're full. The center across the street is full. The center downtown is full. The in-homes are full.
To the fault of a great company, you may lose a quality employee just because that employee can't find access to quality childcare. It's very important for the business world to kind of take notice.
By not having quality childcare, we're finding that a lot of our workforce commutes in from Lincoln and Grand Island. They have stronger childcare services and more available options. And that to me is a detriment to the growth of our community. Through the York County Health Coalition, we do have a child care task force. It involves some key employers throughout the county.
We get together with other providers on a monthly basis. We kind of meet to talk about what is the most important need right now in our early childhood realm. How can we reach out to businesses to get them on board with early childhood?
York General is the hospital within our community. They weren't able to get the quality employees that they needed because those employees couldn't find childcare within our communities. So they actually, started their own in-facility childcare. They've had nothing but great success.
The community has a challenge growing if there is a lack of childcare alone, and especially if there's a lack of quality childcare. We're on the right track with promoting early childhood and quality and the importance in our community, but I think it's something that we'll be working towards for quite a while.
For York to continue to grow, we need those young families to realize what great things we have going here for them to help them raise their children.
This is a story about working together.
This is a story about working families.
This is a story about York. What's your role in this story?
Okay, I am gonna use the mic because I don't have a dance instructor voice. My kids tell me I have a really loud voice, but I just would prefer to rely on technology. Thank you, Chandra. From the economic development perspective, okay, louder yet. From the economic development perspective, a gap of 252 openings, when you consider that's only to the age of 6, is terrifying for me, to me. That's keeping our potential workers out of the workforce. And that's, not all of them would want to work. We have plenty of people that want to stay home with their kids, whether it's a mom or a father. But for those that are looking to get into the workforce and they cannot find childcare, that's a terrifying number. And I don't know about the other parents in the room. I was not gonna leave my kids home alone when they were 6 and 7. Just didn't trust them. So that's a whole nother issue that I can't get any traction on with daycare providers from the older kids, the school age, because they're part-time. And so I'm not gonna touch on that tonight because I could talk for an hour and Shanda's gonna tell me to shut up in about 30 seconds. So Mike, why don't you come on up here? I'd like to introduce my friend Mike. We have known each other for probably 15 years. It's been a while. I miss him in the economic development world. And when he told me he was taking the position he's in with First Five, I was sad when I found out, but he's doing a wonderful position. And to be honest, childcare is our future workforce. So having a skilled economic developer taking this role on that understands the business side is critical. So for the First Five providers, the leadership, congratulations on a wonderful hire right before COVID started.
All right, perfect. Can everybody hear me if I talk this loud? Okay, so I've heard.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a summer that I'll never forget. All right, so thank you for that introduction. And Chandra, we tried to do this last year and this didn't happen, darn pandemic. So no, so I am Mike Feeken. I'm with First Five Nebraska. I'm the Strategic Partnerships Advisor. And I've got a few things to say here. I guess one thing I'll let you know, if you get up and go to the bathroom or get more food, that's fine. Looks like there's some more drinks over there. I encourage you to keep drinking. My presentation gets better the more you drink. Okay, so just remember that. I do have some disclaimers here. When I use childcare, early childhood, all of that, I mean the same thing. Okay. I talk fast. Sometimes my brain can't keep up, so I tend to kind of mumble.
This side of the podium.
Why?
Because we're recording you. Because I was told by First Five we have to.
There you go.
Well, I don't like it, Dino. I don't like it. Hold on. That one's okay?
Yep.
Okay. I gotta keep my notes, otherwise I will get distracted. Okay, and finally, interaction is encouraged. And so if you have thoughts or questions or anything, shout them out, and I may even ask some of you folks for some answers as well. So let's get going here. Who is First Five? We are a public policy group. We focus on early childhood education. We are a part of Nebraska Children and Families Foundation, but we are the policy side, and so we work obviously with public policy. I don't know a lot of the history, but Mike Medwick, my colleague over there with the camera, if you have any questions on the history of First Five, he certainly will know it. He is our communications guru, but we also have our policy folks. We've got data, and so we've got a whole team of professionals that are working on public policy. My role, I'm a former economic development director. I was the development director for St. Paul, Nebraska for many, many years. I still live in St. Paul, and so I bring a little bit different perspective to the conversation of early childhood, because I come at it from kind of workforce, business development, community development. So again, my role then is to go out and talk to all these kind of folks and really talk about becoming advocates and investing in early childhood. So what do? Well, we're a policy group, so we do policy. LB, those are legislative bills. And so these are some of the ones that we have been working on in the past, and just this last session, especially with LB 342 and 485, those were ones that we were able to get accomplished. The last one, LB 531, there's a star by that one. There's a good reason for that. That is to create the Nebraska Child Care Contribution Tax Credit. Unfortunately, components of that bill were added into another bill, and it didn't get approved. It didn't pass. And so LB 531 is still alive, the original one. And so next session, we will be reaching out to folks just like yourself in order to find those stories and find those voices so that we can get the contribution tax credit passed. Real quick on that, what that would mean is that individuals and businesses, that if they make a monetary contribution to a nonprofit or a for-profit family home provider, then that donor would receive a tax credit. And so we're thinking that is a way that we will be able to spur more public-private partnerships, which we know are key in the industry. We inspire collaboration. Shannon had already talked about communities for kids, and so we don't need to spend a lot of time with that. We do also have our Policy Leadership Academy, which is it's kind of a typical leadership class, but here we focus on becoming advocates and really creating those strategic messages so that providers or economic development folks, that they can share this, again, share the story, share those voices with local leadership, and then ultimately with state legislators. The application process for that class opened up on Monday. And so if you'd like to apply for this next class, please go to our website and you'll be able to apply. There's going to be 4 in-person sessions this year. We go out to Kearney, we go to Sydney, we go to Broken Bow, and then we'll finish in Lincoln. Blueprint Nebraska, that's an economic development initiative. One of the tenets in that was that in order to really be able to recruit 18 to 34-year-olds to the state of Nebraska, that educational segments, including early childhood, we'll have to reimagine that. And then obviously our work with the Early Childhood Workforce Commission. All right, that's kind of a little bit of background on who we are and what we do. So I want to now give you some context to where we are at as a state. I don't need to read all these out. You can probably, hopefully read those. It might be a little blurry in the back. I'm not sure. But what these will tell you is that Nebraska is a state that people will work and have kids. Okay. So why is quality early childhood essential to your community? Not a rhetorical question. So anyone want to give me an answer? Why is it essential?
They're our future.
Whitney Houston sang it. Children are our future.
I would never.
Anyone else? They're our future? They're exactly, yes, they're your kids. What I think about, again, from an economic development perspective, is I think of them, providers especially, I think of them as entrepreneurs, think of them as business owners. You know, the small business CEO. Marty, you always say that, small business CEO. They're workforce enablers. What COVID has taught us is that childcare is essential. That we have to have it in order to get people to work. So ultimately, this is what I like to call early childhood. It is multi-generational workforce and talent recruitment and retainment. That's a lot of words. But again, if we're talking from a community perspective, if you are wanting to attract people to your town, right? We're talking about resident recruitment, resident retainment. Early childhood has to have a piece of that. And the same thing goes with the business community. If you're looking to hire, we got to start thinking about multi-generational workforce recruitment and retainment. So not only are we talking about the parents that need childcare in order to go to work, but we're also talking about the development of children in quality settings so that in 18 to 20 years, when they become part of the workforce, they're able to, you know, have that robust, I hate using the word robust, that, you know, robust learning so that they become productive employees. Okay. So again, I look at it from an economic development issue. We know that working parents struggle to find care. So what happens if they drop out of the workforce? Well, we are seeing that, or we saw it last year as well. Department of Labor for Nebraska has, right now on their Nebraska Works website, 68,485 unfilled jobs. 305 in York County alone. Now, I'm not saying that every single parent that doesn't have access to childcare would be able to fill these 305 jobs, but there are going to be some in there that don't have access, can't afford childcare, that would be able to work. Overall, there are direct impacts to the nation. So $57 billion in losses. We will have some more Nebraska-specific information here in a little bit. And recent estimates for replacing an employee are at 20 to 33% of their annual salary. Where's my HR? Is that accurate or is that low?
That's accurate.
Okay. What in Gothenburg, they said that was maybe a little bit low, and it could be as high as 45%. So just back of the napkin kind of math, if you're paying somebody $40,000 and they leave to stay at home, you're gonna spend, 20-some thousand, well, 18. Is that right? I don't have my napkin. Okay, and that's due to having to advertise, having to do background checks, all the recruiting costs, okay? But then there's also indirect costs as well that you have to think about. as far as reduced productivity, reduced morale, all those things. Okay. Here we go. Providers are businesses. We've talked about this, right? There's the small business CEO. They worry about profit and loss just like everyone else. Are they treated like that in York? Are they? No? You don't know?
I mean, yeah, it's that's over
New
here.
York, yeah, okay, that's
Yeah,
why
that's
we're
why
here.
we're here.
Exactly. Very good. Economic development in city groups. They're always trying to recruit jobs and recruit residents. Can you attract if you don't have available quality care? And then in economic development circles, we always talk, what would happen if your largest employer tomorrow shut down? Well, I counter that, it's probably hard to read now. What if all of your early care tomorrow is closed? What are those working parents gonna do? Okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
So now I've depressed everyone. They're like, who is this guy? Man, this is terrible. So for the business folk in here, why is it essential to your business? Well, it's all about your workforce, right? These are some statistics that I pulled. You know, for housing, they say 30% of your income should go for housing. That's what is considered affordable. For childcare, it's 7% or less of your family's total income. Well, you can see where we as a state line up, and then same with York proper and York County. So a little bit higher based on the average cost of center-based. Now, family-based, it'd be a little bit higher. It's about like 12,400 and change. And then married parents of 2 children living at the poverty line, they make 93.3%. So you can see why many parents, I mean, they will decide to just stay home. These we can kind of buzz through. Allows new people in the workforce, stay engaged, workforce productivity. Again, these are all things that as a workplace enabler that is because of childcare. And here's the choir. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but we can go past this one. Okay, this one I always like this one. I did this one about a month ago for a community, but I want to ask the businesses, why should I work for you? Okay, employee candidates have choices, right? So what is, if you look at a want ad, Indeed, you know, newspaper, career link, all of those. What are some of the things that always pop up for trying to attract you to a job? So what I like to talk about is, what is your competitive advantage? What makes you, your business, better for me to go work at? So we got some scenarios here. We got Widget Works and we got Doodad Gadgets. Both are hiring. Okay, I'm looking at the ads. What's the first thing that they're going to talk about? We have competitive wages, right? Every single one. We have competitive wages. You don't know what that is, right? But it's competitive. We have the sign-on bonus. All right. Okay, man, good benefits and great people, right? Come join our team. We've got great people. Opportunities for advancement. I mean, these, you know, you guys have all read these, right? And some of you probably put some of these together, and they all say the same thing. So what is your competitive advantage? Widget Works, they have no childcare arrangement. They have no partnerships with anyone. They don't have family-friendly policies. But Doodad Gadgets, they partner with Quality Childcare. And, you know, if I have a 2-year-old, which one do you think that I'm gonna choose? You hitchhiking or what are you doing? This one, right? Right. So those are just some things that, you know, as a business, you want to try to think about. And so what do you have to gain? And really, it's almost what do you have to lose? You have to think about the cost to hire a new worker, the cost to replace a worker. What do you lose in productivity? What do you lose in absenteeism? What do you lose in morale? What I'm trying to talk about here is when we think about partnerships or if a business wants to explore in, you know, on site or near site or anything like that, they think about, well, it's just going to cost me so much. Well, here, what I'm trying to show is that it could become cost neutral, because if you are able to keep that employee for longer, you won't be, you won't have to experience these types of costs. Okay, and so that leads us to our Nebraska specific information in our study that First Five Nebraska completed with the Bureau of Business Research at University of Nebraska-Lincoln, entitled The Bottom Line. And so what the bottom line looked at was the direct annual impacts of inadequate childcare and what the impact was on working individuals, businesses, companies, and the state as a whole. And so they were able to actually put numbers to these types of events that we've been talking about: absenteeism, turnover, remaining part-time, because the schedule won't allow those working parents to go to full-time. Okay, so or they forgo promotion. $489 million. This is annually, so every year. Now, when we shift gears and we talk about the businesses, all those same things, because if people aren't working, then the businesses, they can't go full speed, full time. So there's an impact to them, 234 million. So then when we know that individuals, they're losing money. We know the businesses, they're losing money, so they're not paying in income tax. So who does that affect? That affects the state of Nebraska. $21 million. So we take all of those three together, and direct impact of $744 million annually as a direct result of inadequate childcare. But wait, there's more. Who in here knows what the multiplier effect is? I know she does. Derek, you know the multiplier effect? Well, it's the theory that, okay, people aren't, making money, they don't have money to spend, or if they do have, if they have money to spend, then it goes to this business, and then that business can use it for this business, so it multiplies through the economy, right? There's a multiplier effect with this. When you factor that, you even get more. You get these multiplied losses, again, to individual parents, productivity of business, tax revenue, and then, jobs. Because if people aren't buying things, well, maybe we don't need to stay open late on a Thursday night, so we'll just get rid of that part-time person. Those types of things. All of those things added up, 1.3. Let's see, hold on, I don't have a napkin. $1.39 billion annual impact to the state of Nebraska due to inadequate childcare. If you want to take a look at the methodology and everything, we do have our one-sheeter that is the bottom line overview. And so that's it. I think it opens the eyes of a lot of people when they actually start to see that there is numbers that we can put at inadequate childcare. Okay, so what's the solutions? What are some options? right? I told you all the bad news. What can businesses do? They can talk to providers. Well, there's really two ways of looking at this. There are support for providers, and then there's support for their parents. Here, a company, they could put together a scholarship like fund. You guys have that in your county?
Yeah, well, we're starting to.
Okay, so businesses could contribute into that, and then for parents that are eligible, they can access those funds to help pay for their childcare. Lincoln Littles, that's a program that is in Lincoln, weird. But they've been really successful with theirs. In fact, I just heard a story this morning, that a business had been made aware of Lincoln Littles about 3 weeks ago. The folks that run Lincoln Littles, she got a call from an employee of one of those businesses and said, I can't afford childcare, but if I can't get into a spot tomorrow, I'm gonna lose my job. I need help. And so they went through the paperwork, found out that this mother was eligible for the tuition scholarship. And so they were able to get that child into care because of the scholarship. So save the job. You can explore on-site or near-site. Now, this isn't the answer for everybody. A lot of times, companies are very hesitant with that because they think that they have to run it. They don't have to run it. There are providers in this room, right? Where's the providers at? Thank you for your service. Thank you, thank you, thank you. They can, maybe a provider in here would want to run the center at your business. Huh? Co-location, this would be for businesses that, man, you know what? We haven't used these 5 rooms for years. Maybe we can just have somebody move in and out. Okay. Back office support. Accountants in the room? Sort of. Financial advisor, something like that. But you know numbers, right? Maybe a creative arrangement could be made where you could, just help folks go through their profit and loss statement and figure out, okay, if we look at these trends, this doesn't look right, maybe right here. Just some back office support like that. Or running a website. Okay, accounting, looking for efficiencies. Supportive workplace policies, also known as family friendly. One of the easy ones is for a lot of people is we're not going to have any all staff meetings before 9 a.m. and not after 3 p.m. And it just allows, in case they have to, run in a carpool type of thing. Okay. Negotiated placement. Work with the provider and say, hey, I can guarantee that I will have 5 slots for 5 employees. Can you, prioritize my employees? Would all these work? Let me hear you.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Childcare stipend paid directly to the employee or to the provider. Maybe it's an extra $100 a pay period or something. I don't know. There are no just tried and true methods. That you can come up with a lot of creative things. Some creative arrangements. What's creative in Red Cloud, Marty?
Oh gosh, the local feedlots donated 2 huge freezers and they donate 3 full meat, including processing every year to Chuck's.
Free meat. Hey,
Free freezers.
that would help. That definitely help, right? What about a business paying the utilities? We're a provider for the year. Anything that'll help kind of buy down that cost. We're paying for the rent. One thing that you will not see on there, negotiated discounts. childcare is already in trouble, we can't ask them to give a discount. Okay? There's a lot here, but one of the things that we hear is that, well, if I do, I don't want to get into that because then I'll have to do it for every single employee. It won't be equal. It's not about being equal, it's about being equitable. And especially for those that can't get entry into quality care because of accessibility or affordability. Okay. And everybody is talking about being equitable. All right, so how else can you get involved? Understanding the employee needs, let's do a survey. I know people hate surveys. Right? That's the one thing I've learned in a year and a half. There's surveys for everything, every single day, right? And there's two culprits right back there. Survey, 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 yeah. Yeah, no, they're the worst, they're terrible, right? But, you know, if workplaces would do and survey their employees, they might find, yes, hey, I have had to miss work in the last month because of childcare. I have been distracted at work because I don't know if my kid's in a quality place. So asking the right questions, becoming an advocate. We need business voices when we are talking to our state legislators and our policymakers. Again, sharing your expertise, again, whether that's helping someone fill out income tax stuff. Yeah, I mean, that might be a little bit dangerous, but it's not dangerous. Make a site visit. There are, you know, a lot of employers, especially if they're in the C-suite level, yeah, the CEO, CFO, they may have never had to, they've probably never actually been into a center or a provider's home. They have no idea what it takes. And again, making creative arrangements. Utilize the Nebraska Childcare Referral Network. I'll get to that real quick. I've got a couple slides on that. Be the seeker. Anyone know what that means? What's that mean, Rachel?
I'm saying about Harry Potter.
That's what I think, Harry Potter.
Go find them, initiate the conversation and engage with your local early childhood professionals.
Yes. Don't wait for them to come to you. You seek them out. Okay. The Childcare Referral Network. Here's just kind of a couple of slides. For the providers in here, have you gone in and created your own little portal? You've done that. Okay, great. So here you can, you know, a parent, employer, anything like that, you can actually search by map radius. So if I'm working for Doodad Gadgets and I want to know, well, who is within a mile radius of my company, so I can partner with them, you can go to the Childcare Referral Network and do that. So I pulled up this, again, I live in St. Paul, and so here's the area St. Paul providers, and it pops up and it tells me exactly, you know, who it is and that type of thing.
Mike, I put it on. I made a QR on.
Oh,
We'll get
well.
out.
See, man. We talked about My Nebraska Story. You saw one of the. There we are. These are the rest of the communities. We are going to be doing year 2 of My Nebraska Story, and so we will be looking for more voices and more stories to highlight. But there is a lot of resources that can be shared. Not just the videos. There's more things to the whole campaign, and so there are more videos. There's animated videos. One of the other great things. See all the. Oh, Derek, you're not on there. Sorry, man. Gosh. We must not like you very much. Maybe round two. The other nice thing that's on here are some of the resources that we've created. Again, you'll find the bottom line information, how to talk to your employer about childcare. So for parents, how they can talk to the employer. Business leadership in quality childcare conversation. No cost, low cost ways to support your working parents. And this is a dirty word in York, LB 840 economic development funding. But again, all those are at mine. Let's see, do I have it on here? No, mynebraskastory.org. That is what I have for you. Any questions? Okay, so LB 40, the Local Option Municipal Economic Development Act. It allows for communities to create an economic development program and economic development funding in the form, most often is a sales tax. The way that it can work with childcare is a couple of years ago, we language was added into the LB 840 statutes that says that early childhood infrastructure can be considered an eligible as a qualified business. Yeah, it's not both, it's just a qualified business. And so so municipalities now can use it directly for infrastructure in early childhood.
Do you have examples of other communities and what they used it for?
So one of the best ones that has come out is McCook. McCook used LB $840 through their C4K process. I think that what they had originally thought is that they were going to do like a large development center. But what they found out through the service surveys, C4K work, is that a large development center wasn't necessarily the path forward for them. And so they used their LB $40 to create expansion packages for some of their current providers. And so they were able to, use those dollars effectively to bring in, I guess, did they do some renovation to some homes or?
Minor reservation, their bigger one was because the surveys are so important. What they found is their families really wanted choice in their businesses. So they actually did an incentive for infants. So they offered $250 for a gym that a provider use their capacity for. They offered tuition for the local community college for high school students going into early childhood. And I believe they dedicated $17,000 their first year of LB 840 funds to childcare and raised another 43 from local businesses. They have about a $60,000 budget that they're working with. So they're definitely a golden child when it comes to this work. So.
Valentine is actually discussing using 840 funds to enhance their existing programs. So allowing early childhood providers to renovate their space to increase quality.
And one of the things that we are doing at First Five Nebraska, just really on that same topic, is we are going to be coming up with some videos that talk exactly about what examples other communities are doing. What else? Yes.
What stops businesses from wanting to invest in women-owned business that helps them succeed?
What stops them?
Yeah, like when you're talking to businesses, what are their reservations? Like,
Well, a lot of
why
it,
isn't there some support
a
there?
lot of it is cost. I think a lot of it is just not knowing what they don't know. That's a key one. Insurance, they don't know what they'd be liable for. It's all those things of risk that I mean, companies are always gonna be risk averse, right? And so I think that's probably the key one.
What makes us 16% higher or 16% versus 7? Why? Figure out why Nebraska is so much higher.
Well, it has to do with our household median income. And so,
Price is the same.
yeah.
But the 7 is a goal, right?
Right,
It's
yes.
not what the average is, it's the goal, that's where you want to get.
That's
Our
what
average
the
is 16.
experts say is considered affordable, is 7%.
That's what exists.
Yeah,
So that's not New York City.
no. No.
What's comparable states like Kansas or?
I don't, would you happen to know that offhand? No. The only, I think, La Vista was the only one that was lower than the state average. Higher index. Gothenburg was 18%, I think. I haven't gone through and that's a good. Let me write that down. Well, that'll be my next project. What else? Anything?
Are any funding coming down that you're aware of? To help.
Had to be a state employee though, that's.
I get asked it all the time. It's fun to ask you.
Yeah. Medwick, you want to handle that?
Not really. I mean, yeah, there's all sorts of money pouring in through federal relief efforts that are meant to shore up the side temporarily. The influx of money to like the CCDBG, the Childcare Development and Development Block Grant, is a great shot in the arm for helping to stabilize the childcare market, but it is not going to sustain. So it offsets the urgency of developing a solution, a sustainable solution of the state, but it only delays it. It's not replacing or creating a funding structure that's going to be there in perpetuity to help stabilize the.
Yeah. And obviously strings with everything.
Oh, I
You know.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we would be able to use the community development block grant funds in North because we don't hit the average, the required median income.
Yeah, it varies all over the state. Yeah, it's there varies.
We have 2 census tracts that meets that, but
How can we as providers make childcare more affordable for those lower income employees who still being able to keep our doors open?
I don't know, because I mean, it's a broken system already, right? I mean, so we have to find more public-private partnerships. We know that more money is needed into the system. But it can't be, we can't do that on your back, or the parent's back. So we gotta find efficiencies, but there's little you can, I mean, it's already pretty efficient as well.
I think starting with the scholarships and having businesses try to, if they could pool in and
Yeah.
make it bigger pot.
Are there barriers to low-income parents using state subsidies?
There's a lot of qualifications for it, and families that I know that need it are just right above or right at our lining. And those are the parents that are struggling.
Yeah, Tom, Mike.
Well, I want to ask this question because my daughter's. But, and I've asked you this question before, but I want to throw it out on the floor for a little additional sunlight. What can chambers do to help elevate the visibility of childcare as a legitimate part of the local business community?
Well, we definitely, sadly, apparently, we have businesses that don't look at our childcare. So definitely some work to do about thinking about that, because my sister-in-law ran a daycare for 20+ years, and I know. I worked that, begged her to make me only do dishes and not to do that. That was not my strength. So I think we need to do a better job to really let businesses know how important the childcare and the early education facilities are. Because if they're not there, we're all saying it around and around, the workforce stops. We can't go to work if we don't be there for quality action. So, it's definitely, and Carly shared a few things with me, and that's definitely supporting me.
Talking to some business today about stipends for childcare, benefits their employees. Like what we have there, we can do that and start to see the light.
Yeah.
Maybe this might be something that, will make them competitive.
You gotta lay it out there like any other benefit, not every employee is gonna take it. Not every employee is gonna need it. But it's another benefit package to make businesses more competitive.
Did you have a comment?
Well, I just was wondering, we talked around the room here of how communities can do this, but are there examples other than the ones that have the fancy LB one? That we could look at for, who are the influencers, who leads this charge? Is it Chandra? Is it Lisa? Is it, who do we need to, have this conversation with outside of this room? Is there?
I think, Marty, you want to handle that?
Sure, we have the opportunity to work with 41 different communities across Nebraska, and one of our biggest components is connection. And so that is one thing that when a community comes up with, this is a direction we want to take. I've got a page of notes already about, maybe we should talk to this person and we should connect to this person. So that's, so absolutely, we've got people all across the state. And one of the things we also do is we connect to York, because York has created such a fantastic network of providers, really come together. So, so I think there's some really innovative things that are happening.
So those 41 communities that you're already working with are on one of those websites that brings in this.
Yes, yep, they're part of the Communities for Kids piece. So we can make sure that's sent out to everybody to see what like that.
Thank you.
So where has the gap come from in-home stopping for the last 10, 15 years because of the regulations and stuff?
Yeah, gap, no, that's out of my,
Rachel, you've been, how'd you figure the gap number? I know.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Has the gap widened because the in-home providers have stopped providing because of the regulations when you get too many kids, or?
No, the way that we figure the gap number is mostly based on the number of licenses within the community and then the under 6 population. So that gap number is always sort of fluctuating based on.
Yeah, I'm not talking about how they calculate it now, but what you guys have seen over time. Is that gap growing because?
Yeah, I would say so. We had 4 in-homes closed from summer of 2020 to now, and none of them closed due to COVID.
No.
Because they were
Retiring or found other occupation.
I just didn't know if there's an option to incentivize those middle income families to, with a tax break or whatever it is, to say, hey, this is actually worth it, not just barely worth it. But take 2 kids. You have 20 homes that would take 2 kids for 5 years. And they don't have to go through all the minutia.
Yeah.
All the fire code.
Yeah.
But then at that point, you want the questions. You know,
And then the provider.
they all.
Well, that's what I say, you have to have some, like, hey, this tax incentive's only there if you make $8,000 a year, then you know, statistically, you're probably gonna have better quality than somebody that's making $20,000 and training. So it's not incentivizing low income people to take cares. Get in the workforce where we need them. Right. Sorry, I'm a nerd engineering. Statistics guy, so I'm talking stats, so I don't know, just throwing ideas out there.
Was, in terms of that, was there, discussion about the change in the regulation of how many kids the in-home care centers could have? Is that in comments or like, then people who are interested could comment right now? Or is it
Yeah,
passed, or
Where are we at with the group size conversation?
DHHS walked that back.
Yeah, I want that.
That has been taken off the table.
Is it taken off the table permanently?
I
I heard
don't know
it's
about,
being pushed from the federal level.
my understanding, and actually the person to speak to in respect to this is my colleague Adam Beezer, who's one of our policy advisors. My understanding is that the federal guidelines are not mandates as far as they apply to the state. So DHHS actually has a fair amount of latitude in how they interpret and adhere to that. And, you know, there's a case for and a case against, and they're balancing it out, but at this moment, it is not imminent consideration of if that's going to affect providers in care in the future. But
Great.
yeah.
Okay, so my first question is, how do I pay my employees who work their butts off every single day more than $10 an hour? Because that sucks. And how do you keep quality employees on $10 an hour? You can't.
No
You
benefit.
cannot. I have a great group of girls right here that literally kill it every single day. And I can't do much more than buy them coffee every once in a while. Like, how do we do that? How do we make it so parents don't have to pay more, but that I can afford to give this guy a little bit more?
It's not a business.
Yeah, I'm trying to get stipends to help you to train your people, you know, so you can get that money, help you pay your people, help you pay for childcare, help you for schooling. So all of that, it's not just, you know, help you pay tuition, help you pay for.
And if we try and raise our tuition rates, then those people that are right above that amount, that they can't get subsidy, we're gonna lose every single one of them, and that's most of our kid base. Is right at that point.
And also there's a cascading effect in something Mike mentioned earlier. If you have a partner in the private sector who's willing to offset the costs of your utilities, well, that frees up capital for yourselves. Now, I'm not saying that would be immediately translated into a huge pay bump for your workers, but I guess, and in the aggregate, those kinds of things can tip the balance in a better direction. But as far as a short-term silver bullet, it's tough. Yeah.
It does not, I mean, you pay rent. Somebody pays your rent, oh, yeah. That'd be great, if somebody would adopt you.
I'll pay your people and,
You know, and do some other things, and that's what I was trying to talk to the visitors about today, for my area, I cover all Central Ground. Another thing?
Yeah, you're not alone. I mean, we hear it all across the state.
Yeah, you're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah, even, what did we hear? It was kind of a plea, like, if I could even just do $3 or $4 more an hour, it'd be so beneficial.
Just from listening to all the comments, it kind of seems to me like one of the most important things is what I believe it was this lady here that mentioned how she had talked to a business and she thought maybe they started seeing the light. And the same way with, with this other person that's looking for ways, is we have to, you guys, I'm not in business, but I'm on a committee trying to get one of these businesses going in our town. But anyway, you have to sell yourself, you have to sell a business that what you're doing is as important as it is. And as soon as that happens, any business with any brains is gonna get it and gonna try to do what they can. And that could be a rolling effect, so forth. So that's what I see out of this kind of from the outside. So you gotta sell yourself and you gotta sell everybody on the importance of what you're doing.
They start hiring, you see one business that starts hiring employees because they're helping support a
Yeah,
child
exactly,
care center
exactly.
like this.
Yeah.
Guess what? Somebody else is gonna say, how do you get all these guys over
Right,
here that I need?
exactly.
And that's gonna be a big, big thing for other businesses. So you need to find somebody to adopt. Okay? Yeah. Okay. there you go. Adopt a child.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be a lot of chambers.
Yeah.
Matching businesses. Yep.
Because a lot of people are hesitant to toot their own horn.
Exactly.
Well, if you don't toot your own horn, probably nobody else is gonna need it. So you just have to, have one. I was an educator for 40 years. I was used to tooting a lot.
But it's true, I think if, we get partnerships with businesses or start something with the chamber or whatever, the organization all day, that's what I'm saying, like other groups can help make you connect. Exactly, and in that way, they start seeing some of those connections pay off, I guarantee you it will light a fire and things will start. Every business in my area, they're crying their help. And if they start seeing somebody else getting their help, because they're fostering a child care center to get that help, guess what? They're gonna say, they know them.
I think that almost every place in York is full of kids. We can't
Say
say we're gonna have your kids, we can't have spots available for your kids at any point in time because I've got a 2-year waiting list for babies.
Wow.
So
Everybody does. I don't know, anybody does not waiting list for babies right now.
Yeah.
All of Central, all of Buxton,
so we can't guarantee that we can cater to your children, no matter how much money you give us. We can't pick out a family for you.
We're gonna have a family moving in once they find a house, because they're relocating to the area, a 1-year-old and a 2, almost 3-year-old. And I'm like, I told them, I said, daycare's tough. It's just tough, look for your house.
When people call me, I have sadly told them more than once, find a college kid or a high school kid. I'll put you on my list, but that's as good as I can.
That's why they're trying to get so many more, individuals, family centers and childcare centers and everything else. They're wanting to open more because the waiting lists are so long everywhere.
But we have to figure out a way to
Change that.
make it so it's easier, more
Get into it.
affordable for daycares to expand. Because that's a big barrier. So, adopt this, adopt this.
No, I think it's great. It's kind of like the matchmaking to keep people here too. I've been thinking about that. Because I had a bank tell me the other day when I was visiting a bank that they're starting matchmaking their employees because if they can't keep them here, they're single, they childcare center along with it.
That is not far-fetched. Senator Mike Feeken said something very similar about what's happening out there.
You did so fair. Yes.
That's the thing, you make the match.
If you make the match, then you better support the childcare center. Because I can't tell you how many people I've talked to that says, you know, I talked to my childcare provider before I decided to get pregnant, not my husband.
Wow. I think developing the relationships, I think this gentleman here pointed that out quite nicely. Developing the relationships is a hugely necessary first step, and thank God we have communities for kids to facilitate a lot of that. But don't think for a minute that when those relationships with businesses come into being, that legislators don't hear about it. When we talk to policymakers at the state level, who do they listen to? The people who employ people and generate economic activity in their districts. And when those kinds of relationships form, it ripples out into the conversations that are being held in the Capitol and in committee, legislative committees and elsewhere. So, you know, it's not just about solving the immediate connections, you know, bringing people and providers, businesses, and other partners together. It's that sets the groundwork for a much more effective conversation about how we shape policy and make these changes permanent and systematic.
And there's a task force working with governance and financing and trying to bring all that, I obviously on that one too. Happen, you know, trying to bring that all together too. And the more they hear about, like you said, this type of activity and positive things happening, they're gonna be more apt.
Oh, yeah.
Well, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Say, I've seen various childcare centers across the county accessing grant funding for things like playground equipment or new books or new pots. Are there not grant opportunities for operating expenses? They would all that. You should be able to pay those bills if you need to everything in 1 month. When it comes to this, you should be able to pay the $1 facility for something else, which is not realistic. When you're paying $10 an hour, it's just, it's a cash flow issue. And it's a perception, the issue as well. Well, they're not understanding.
Well, they think it's quote unquote babysitting, you know, it's not, as Marty has always said, there's some babies, you know, and, you know, they don't get it. They just don't get it.
You guys are more than welcome to continue this conversation. I'm pretty sure are we still stopped? Oh, perfect. Well, Mike, I wanted to, thank you.
Would you at least clean it first or?
On the box.
Good shot.
Thank you so much, Mike. I just want to thank First Five, Communities for Kids, the York County Health Coalition, the Chamber, and YCBC. And thank you all. Stands to sign in. I just want to make sure I got it.
Yes.
You are.
What?
No. Well. You remember that?
Yeah.
Super cute. Yeah, I found a nice one. That's what it's about.
You want these things on here or how we do it? Okay, that's you.
Yeah. All right.
Well, because you got pressure. We were working for COVID.
Yeah.
me stop. You know, they want to use their.
Always, I think.
It's only fun if I can give it to you.
Thanks for coming, Kelly. Yes. All of our daughters. I mean,
So the money's there.
Like he knows how to. Yeah, she's been the
You saw it? Oh.